We're back with another episode of Brews and Bets. My name's Steve Ricciardi at SHP Pirate 12. With me, as always, is Tyler Beard. Tyler, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Let's see if we could try to knock this out of the park like we did Tuesdays for the Quant Edge.
Yeah, let's just introduce. What are you drinking right now?
You know what? My girl got me one of the hazy IPAs. I'm not sure the exact brand.
I don't know if you've heard of this, but just in case you haven't, it's a little of the finest Irish whiskey in the land. So I'm gonna pour a little proper 12.
Man, I see that most of that bottle's gone.
Oh, yeah. This is my second bottle, so you do what you got to do when you're in Jersey. It's starting. Yeah. Winter's coming. You know what I'm saying? Winter is coming. I also got a shout out. I got my H2 Bro water. So again, Eat Clean Bro is one of our sponsors. And again, are you going to start doing putting your bets on BetTips or what's the actual BetMMA.tips?
You know what? I always mean to, but I always forget. I do have the Gamble Masters thing, and that's kind of what I use to track it. I know you're killing it. You're in what, top 5 in Gamble Masters?
Well, I'm top 3 right now. I'm number 3, and I'm basically trying to almost not double up, but I'm trying to basically go for first place this week. But although you hate my bet, so you might as well segue right into the bet since you already hate my bet for this week. So Stevie Ray, Justin Ayari. Do you like anything in this fight, Ty? This fight opened with Stevie Ray, I believe, at minus 240. I'm pretty sure that's right around where it opened. I'll check right now while you're talking. Yeah. But again, what do you like anybody? Go ahead, take it over.
Well, I'm not really a huge fan of this fight. I think that Stevie Ray is going to win. Ayari is dropping in weight, which kind of causes me a little bit of alarm for backing Ray, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I'm not. But Ayari has really good striking defense, but his takedown defense is terrible, and Ray kind of hits on 55% of his takedowns. So I'm kind of leaning towards Ray being able to take it down and control this fight, but I'm not confident enough to back either one of these with a bet.
No, I agree with you too. Let's see, even over 2.5 rounds, I kind of expect it to be over, and it's minus 370. I don't really like anything in this fight, to be honest with you. But again, what we were just talking about, it opened at minus 215 and went down to like minus 300, and now it's like minus 150. So the betting line has kind of been all over the place with this fight. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to touch it. I think there's better opportunities on the card. So let's get into something else that I think is actually a better opportunity right away, and that's Arjan Buller and Marcelo Gome. Ty, I kind of like Gome. I would not be surprised if Buller got the best of him. But if I'm going to bet any money in this, I'm not laying minus 200 on Buller. I really think Gome is the better striker. He's got that crisp boxing, and if he can use it and keep the fight standing, like he didn't do against Tim Johnson. When he was able to keep distance with Tim Johnson, he scored pretty well striking. I would love to see him knock somebody out because he was 6-0 with 6 knockouts. I don't think he had seen the second round until that loss to Tim Johnson. But who do you like in this fight?
Yeah, so this is one of the fights that I actually went into pretty good detail on the Quant Edge podcast that we did. So one of the interviews that I seen with Gome, he said that he doesn't think that Buller will wrestle, and I found that pretty odd. And kind of what I was explaining to you on our other podcast is that Gome wasn't necessarily taken down by Johnson, but Johnson used his weight to push him up against the cage, controlled him with his wrestling, and just pretty much grinded him out with his wrestling, even though it wasn't takedowns. And I think that he means that Buller won't wrestle with him because he's not the grinded out, push you up against the cage type fighter. He is a really good wrestler, and he might get the takedowns, but he does keep his space and then executes his takedowns from there. And I kind of think that's where Gomes was heading with that. But Buller is the Canadian national champion for wrestling. He's competed in the Olympics. He trains at American Kickboxing Academy here in San Jose. And one thing of note, he lost his last fight and he wanted an immediate match. So it shows that he's hungry. He's not dwelling on his loss. He wants to get right back in there. He's hungry. And what I found interesting is these two guys were supposed to fight in 2016. Golm got injured. He pulled out. And then the fight was offered to Golm also in 2017, and he didn't accept it. So for whatever reason, I don't know if he wasn't ready or what, but he's already gotten out of 2 fights with them. So I think Bueller's already studied with his team 2 specific times for Golm. I think that this fight is set up that it's perfect for him to execute his wrestling and walk away with a decision here. I think there's plus money on Bueller by decision.
Plus 103. I was actually just about to say, yeah, plus 103.
Yeah, and I'm kind of leaning towards that because I don't think Bueller is going to actually get a knockout or a submission. I think he's going to take him down, work his ground and pound, and grind him out and win a clear decision.
Yeah, I'm on bestfightodds.com as we're going through this, looking at my notes, and again, I think it's going to be Bueller by decision or Golm by knockout. So if you want to play Golm, I wouldn't even play the plus 170. I would go right to the KO TKO prop. If you want to play Golm, I would play him by KO TKO at plus 370. But I do like Bueller by decision at plus 103. You got me. You sniped that one right before I could have mentioned it. It's a nice one on that one. By the way, this next fight is a fight that Tyler is a big fan of Edwards. So Ty, I'll let you introduce this one. It's Edwards and Don Madge.
Yeah, so we have T. Edwards versus Don Madge. For those of you guys that followed my writing and everything throughout the years and on my Twitter at TySlice23, I'm big into the Dana White Contender Series. I've made a lot of money doing that. I hit at a really good percentage. Edwards was one of the guys that I researched heavily before his Dana White fight. The guy is really explosive. He's good at stand-up. I think he's proficient at wrestling also. But he's fast and talented. He has a ton of power. And then I looked into Madge because I didn't really know too much about him coming into this fight. And he's 7-3. All 3 losses were versus the same guy. And then I looked at his wins, and only 2 of those fights that he won were versus a fighter that has above a 50% win percentage. So I kind of think that this is a showcase fight for Edwards. I'm not loving where his line sits. I want to say it's around minus 500. It's at minus 485.
Yeah, it's a wide line.
Yeah, minus 485 right now. I'm gonna add him in some parlays and stuff, and I'm actually gonna take him by knockout also at minus 190. And I'd even go so far to put it as a knockout in the first round at plus 140.
Yeah, that's not a bad play. And under 1.5 rounds, just in case I said it again. I think the only way that Madge wins is like some kind of a flash knockout early, because even if Edwards gets hurt at all, he's going to go to his wrestling. He was a Division I wrestler, so he's going to shoot in and go for that takedown. And once he gets Madge down to the ground, I think he's just going to lay on him until he recovers, even if he does hit him with anything, unless it's a flash knockout. So under the 1.5 rounds is not a bad bet at minus 125. But yeah, I'm thinking what you're thinking. If you're going to bet Edwards, I would bet him by KO TKO. So we get right into this next fight, and this is a fight that I actually like a lot. It's Sarah Miraz and Toledo Bernardo. And we kind of talked about this. I don't know who the better striker is. I kind of thought it was Bernardo at first. Then you told me Miraz was the better striker. Then I saw an interview with James Lynch where Miraz is out in Vegas. She relocated to Vegas. She's at the UFC PI. With all that being said, I expect an improvement from Miraz. I know she was out for a little bit after her last fight. She was injured a little bit. I just don't see much striking in this fight. I think that Bernardo's going to try to shoot for a takedown early, and then I think these girls are going to go to it on the ground with their BJJ. So I'd love to hear who you think is better with their BJJ, but I really like fight doesn't go to decision. I actually got a better number at it. It's plus 165 now. So the line is going up. I believe I got it at like plus 2 something. But I think this fight is going to finish. I think these two are going to be able to get it down to the ground. And then whoever the better, I should say, ground BJJ artist is going to wind up submitting the other person here. So Ty, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I actually don't think that it's gonna be a finish. I think it's gonna be a decision, and it likely will be a pretty close decision. I think Moraes is by far not by far, but I think that she is the better fighter. The only concern that I have with her is that she has a 14% takedown defense, and Bernardo is going to be looking to get this fight to the ground, and that tells me that Bernardo is going to get top position. Bernardo is the better jiu-jitsu player, I believe, but I think that Moraes has the better experience versus better fighters, and I think that's going to pull her through right now at this point in their career. And I kind of lean towards Moraes winning probably a 29-28 decision.
And just going on previous performances, Bernardo, I'm not even sure what her record is because on Tapology it's 4-2 on the or 4-3. The UFC website has her 5-2. So I'm not sure what her actual record is, but the 4 fights on Tapology that she's won have all been by submission. She doesn't have a win in the UFC, but again, she's fought Marion Renault and she's fought Irina Aldana, who are two pretty good fighters. She was able to get kind of top position on both of them. She totally gashed out against Renault in the 3rd round, and against Aldana. Aldana's a very good striker, so she was able to just outstrike her and kind of stay on the feet enough to win a split. I believe it was a split decision. Moraes was able to, and I think that takedown defense, I think a lot of it was against Jessica Andrade. I think she just kept taking her down. So I think that accounts for the 14% takedown defense. And again, not for nothing, but if Jessica Andrade wants to take you down, even when she was fighting at 135, she's going to get you down. So,
yeah, no doubt.
So the next fight is Calvin Kattar and Chris Fishgold. This is a fight that I actually like both fighters. I wish they weren't fighting each other. I think you agree with that. I think we really do like these guys. It's an interesting fight. Over 2.5 rounds is -160. Kattar's -270. I don't love the line here. If I like anything, it would be Fishgold by submission, which is +630. So I think if you're going to play Fishgold, I don't think he's going to want to stay on the feet with Kattar. Kattar basically picked Andre Fili apart. He picked Shane Burgos apart. There's no way Fishgold is doing any kind of tape study and wants to stay in the feet. So he's going to bring it to the ground if he can get it there. And if he gets it there, he could get a sub at +630. So that's the play if anybody wants to do maybe a half unit on Fishgold. But Ty, where do you see this fight going?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like Kattar. He's a fun fighter to watch. High volume striker, really good takedown defense. He's been impressive in his UFC career so far. Fishgold comes into this fight. He's a very good prospect from, I think it was Liverpool, correct?
Yes, it is Liverpool.
Yeah, and he's the 155-pound Cage Warriors champion, which that's the same organization Conor McGregor and a lot of other legit prospects have come over from. So he's dropping down to 145 for this fight, and he's really good on the ground, has a dangerous guillotine choke. I really like Fishgold, and like you said, that you wish that he got paired with somebody else. I think that I said that also on our other podcast. I would have liked to see him get a win versus somebody lesser before stepping up to somebody of Kattar. I do like the +630 on Fishgold. I think that if he wins, that's how he's going to win. Other than that, I wouldn't touch Kattar, even though he kind of has the chance. I kind of lean towards him winning at this point in their career, but I don't like the line where it's at because Fishgold's a lot better than the line indicates.
And I'll even go a step further. If you really want to gamble, Fishgold wins in round 1. I mean, if he's going to win, it's probably going to be round 1 or round 2. You can play Fishgold wins in round 1 or round 2 +925 and +1125. So I mean, you could throw a quarter unit on something because if he wins, it's going to be by finish. It's going to be by sub in one of those first 2 rounds. So you may be better off maybe throwing something on either one of those rounds or something like that, playing around with that a little bit. Next fight. So basically, I think we're in agreement here. It's going to be Nasrat by KO in round 1 or Nasrat by KO in round 2. So I'll put it to you, Ty. Does he win this in the first round, or does he knock him out in the second round? Plus 100 if it's in the first round, plus 450 in the second round.
He wins it in the first. So I'm not actually going to bet what round he's going to win it in. Plus 100 in round 1. That's a little bit too risky for a first round knockout for me. But wins by knockout TKO at minus 195. I actually really like that line. Just because if it does make it a little bit further, he's still going to test that chin, and I think he's going to put him out. And I'd rather give up the minus 95 juice to ensure I have that.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there, but I think that's going to finish early. And I agree. I think it's going to be the first round. I think he's going to come on, really press forward early, and I don't think Gowdy's going to be able to really get out of the way. His best shot is to time a takedown early. That's probably the only way this gets to round 2, if he times a takedown early and is able to take him down, which could happen, but I just don't see it. Nordine Taleb and Sean Strickland. I think this is really a toss-up fight, so I think it's lined correctly. I kind of favor Nordine Taleb. My only concern is, both of these guys lost last time out. Strickland was rocked pretty good by Zaleski with a heel kick. Taleb was actually taken down by Claudio Silva and grounded out for a rear naked choke finish, so he got subbed last time out. I kind of like Taleb. I think he's going to have more volume. Strickland kind of keeps distance. The nice thing about Taleb is he does keep distance, but he also uses a lot of kicks at distance, and he will come in. Strickland doesn't really lead the dance. He kind of counters. And I think with Taleb, he's going to be smart enough to wait him out, and I see a decision here. Unfortunately, I think everybody else does. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 355. Could be a low volume striking match. It could get crazy if one guy goes up 2 rounds and needs that third round. But I kind of think it'll be like 1-1 going into the third, and they're both going to play it safe, just trying to get a win. I could see it getting dicey. And again, talk about who's from Canada. Taleb he is French, but he trains at a TriStar in Montreal. So I see Taleb getting a split decision win here.
Yeah, so I'm actually in disagreement again on this fight. I think Strickland's the better fighter. Both are well-rounded. Strickland's faced, I think, the better competition. I think that this fight's going to come out to who can execute their wrestling better. And the reason why I'm saying that is because both of them are not great on the feet. And it's pretty much they're both going to want to essentially do the same thing. They're going to want to counter strike and take down. I don't think that Taleb is going to get any takedowns on Strickland. Strickland's a very good defensive wrestler. He has 81% takedown defense. And he's also a good offensive wrestler himself. I could see him getting Taleb down to the ground, grinding out a decision. I'm actually this is one of the fights that I'm going to bet. I'm going to bet Strickland straight up. Right now he's minus 120, and the Strickland by decision line is, I think it's plus 135, and that's not enough extra to play a decision. So I'm just going to bet Strickland straight up at minus 120.
All right, yeah, it's not a bad play at all, and that line actually flipped, I believe, over the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Who do we got up next? Alex Garcia and Court McGee. This is a little bit of a weird matchup. Court McGee, he's been around forever. He's 0-2 since 2017. He actually lost to Strickland, a majority draw. Kind of loss. I don't even know how they really scored. I think they screwed up the scoring there. And he actually lost to Ben Saunders, which I think is a really bad loss. Garcia lost to our buddy Ryan LaFleur last time out. He really killed us, Ryan LaFleur, at UFC 229. If he would have just won that fight, I think we would have been, cashing a whole lot more of our DraftKings lineups. But I think Alex Garcia is going to be able to get this down, use his wrestling, grind out a 3-round decision here. Maybe some late ground and pound if he's able to hurt McGee. But I think Garcia by decision is the way that I'm going to go here. And if you look at the Garcia wins by decision line, can I find it right now?
I think it was plus 143.
What, plus 143? That's exactly what it is. If you're going to play Garcia, I wouldn't mind playing him by decision. But Ty, who do you like here?
Yeah, so Garcia is a low volume striker, but he's a high volume wrestler. McGee, his takedown defense sits at 60%. And what I noticed when doing the tape study on this is Garcia really only loses to people that can out wrestle him. And Court McGee is just not that guy. Garcia is going to get this fight to the ground. He's going to get 4 or 5 takedowns during the fight and win a decision.
Yeah, so I think that's not a bad play. I think we're in agreement with that one. We've only disagreed on like 2 fights, but one's coming up, so we'll have our third.
A big one.
All right, so we got Ed Herman and John Volante. And again, this is the kind of fight where, there's always some fights that when you are betting them, you look at it differently than if you're playing DraftKings. You know what I mean? And I think this is one of those fights. Maybe even the last fight was very similar to that based on the difference in price. But Herman has a legit shot to knock Volante out. I think this line should be a little bit closer. I think it's too far away. I don't love Herman, but if you're going to play Herman, you can play him by KO, TKO. I think that's his only path to victory. I know you had mentioned, and I did look into it because you had mentioned it the other day, the fact that if anybody's going to get a takedown here, it's probably going to be Herman. And I can see that happening, but I think when he goes for his takedowns, he comes in, if you watch him on tape, with the big left-right combo, left hand and then a big right hook, overhand right hook, or overhand straight right. And I can see that maybe touching up Volante. If you look at Volante's numbers, he absorbs a lot of punches. So Herman is the kind of guy that will connect. And again, I think this is going to be a striking match. I don't disagree with you. If anyone gets a takedown, it will be Herman. I think he's going to have enough success on the feet that he's not going to have to really chase a takedown. And I would not be surprised if there's a knockout in this fight. And if the knockout comes, I wouldn't be surprised if it's from Herman. You may disagree, but Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, I do disagree on this. I don't see much of a chance for Herman to win at all. Gian Volante, he has an 82% takedown defense. Herman is essentially going to want to get this to the ground. He's not very good on his feet. Volante is going to use him as a punching bag until he gasses out. So the only way that I see that Herman has an advantage here is if it makes it to late round 2, early round 3, and Volante tires himself out.
So that's when Herman gets the knockout?
I think that's where it would happen if that's going to happen. But I think Volante is going to piece him up, and it's not really going to be a hard fight for him at all.
All right, we may need a proper 12 bet on that one, and we can parlay it with this one. My boy, Andre Sukentat and Jonathan Martinez. Just so everybody knows, I got a 10-unit play on Sukentat, and I basically went all in Gamble Masters on Sukentat. So that's the kiss of death right there. And Ty is going to tell you why he's going to lose this fight. So go ahead, Ty. I'll throw it right to you.
Well, it looks like I'm going to be the only one of us in Gamble Masters after this week. So earlier this week we were talking about it, and you said that he was a max bet. And without even researching, I already told you that I couldn't agree with it because Sukentat does not have any fight IQ whatsoever. His last fight with O'Malley, O'Malley had a broken foot or torn ligaments in his foot or something in the 3rd round. O'Malley was winning the fight. All Sukentat had to do was let O'Malley stand up, and he literally could not continue. Sukentat decided to go to the ground, give O'Malley a way to the end of the fight, and he won a decision. Somebody with that kind of fight IQ, they just don't. I just don't think that he has the instincts to carry him forward when things go rough. That being said, I didn't know much about Martinez. I knew that he was a good prospect, so I went and dug a little deeper on him, and I found that his only loss was a disqualification to a UFC fighter, also in Matt Schnell. So I researched into that further. He was actually losing the fight in the 1st round. The 2nd round, he came out and he was getting the better of Schnell, and then kneed him on the ground as Schnell was getting up. Schnell couldn't continue. They disqualified him. So Martinez has also been off for a year. He's been hurt, but guys have also been pulling out. They don't want to fight him. They've been trying to get out of fights. He's taking this fight on short notice, but he had a fight that was supposed to happen last Friday for LFA. And so he was already getting ready for a fight anyway in the 135-pound division. And I know you said that he's coming up in weight. And while he is, most of his fights have been at a 130 catch weight. So really it's only five extra pounds that he's going to be weighing in at. And he's been weighing in around 130, 131 for all of his fights. So a little bit more into his training. He used to train with Greg Jackson. He's done some cross training there, and he's cross trains at 10th Planet. So his jiu-jitsu is legit, and he's trained with some pretty good guys himself. So I actually found out that Martinez got offered 3 short notice fights in the past year by the UFC. One of the fights he decided it was on too short a notice, so he didn't want to accept it. And the next fight he was injured and wasn't able to train, so he had to turn it down. And he accepted this one, which that kind of tells me that if he wasn't able to accept a short notice fight earlier on in the year, but he is now, something led him to believe that he's 100% ready for this fight, whether it's the matchup or he's just physically ready. And so I'm kind of leaning towards him, and I'm going to place a bet on him.
Oh, so you're actually betting against me?
Yeah, I'm betting against you.
Oh, boy. You know, you're doing this on purpose. So listen. My max bet is sponsored by H2 Bro. All right. # liquid gratitude. So, Ty, I really do appreciate your breakdown, but we're going to take your money. And I think I'm going to win Gamble Master with this win this week. So that's where I'm going with that. So the next fight is Misha Serkinov and Patrick Cummings. I was actually at UFC Atlantic City, Patrick Cummings' last fight. I was sitting cage side. And, Corey Anderson really got the best of him. Grounded him, out wrestled him, and that's supposed to be Cummings' strong suit. And I kind of see, Misha taking this fight wherever the hell he wants and getting a win. The over under in this is 1.5 rounds. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on the under 1.5, but fight doesn't go to decision. I do like if you want to play that in a parlay, maybe -275. I think Misha finishes him. And again, Misha throws some good punches. And the thing with Misha that I just saw in a couple of the interviews, he's now training out of Vegas, working out a lot at the UFC PI. And the camp that he was at in Toronto, he was kind of the only person there. So he was kind of training on his own. He didn't have really coaches or anything like that. You can get all that from the James Lynch interviews. James was on him for a while and basically, said his camp just isn't very good. It's kind of focused around him, but there's not very high level competition and sparring partners, things like that. So I think that we're going to see a better Misha Serkinov. I think it took 2 losses in a row to get him to this point. So I like Serkinov a lot. I don't like the -460 though. I wouldn't lay that, but I do like maybe going fight doesn't go to decision because I think he's going to get the finish. Maybe even Serkinov. See, the thing is with Serkinov, he could get a sub or he can get a knockout. So maybe inside the distance at -172 is the way to go with him. But Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, I do like the inside the distance play. Serkinov's a high volume striker. They're both high volume wrestlers, but what I noticed with Cummings, he only stuffs 30% of the takedowns posed against him, which that tells me that Serkinov can win this fight anywhere. He's going to have the advantage on the feet, and he can take him down whenever he wants. Serkinov's really good at submissions, really strong guy. I see really nowhere that he's going to lose this fight, and I'm actually putting him with Edwards and maybe 1 or 2 other guys in a parlay and just using him as essentially a free space.
Yeah, that's not a bad play either because Edwards I like a lot and him I like a lot. Nasrat is probably too much of a line to throw in a parlay. But yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. Michael Johnson and Artem Lobov is the next fight up. It's actually the co-main event. I kind of have mixed feelings about this fight. I kind of wish Artem got an opponent that I thought he had a better matchup against. Although this is the kind of fight that, again, at -630, is Michael Johnson worth playing? I don't think so. Do we think it's going to go to decision? I personally do. Over 2.5 rounds is +150. I kind of like that line. I haven't put a bet in on it yet, but I was looking at it before. I thought about it, but I was at work, so I couldn't do it. Fight, I don't know. Fight starts round 2, minus 410. So I think the lines are a little off. Fight starts round 3 is minus 202. So I just think that the lines are a little off. It's kind of leading to a decision, but then they're giving you plus money for the decision or over 2.5 rounds. So, oh, actually, I'm sorry. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 170. I read that wrong. But goes to the decision is minus 140. So, with that said, I still like the decision, but I thought it was better at the plus 150. But minus 145, I still like it to go to the decision. So, Ty, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, I actually hate this fight. I think it's a terrible fight. Johnson has a lot of variables that could cause problems for Artem, mainly an 8-inch reach advantage and a huge speed advantage. Artem has terrible striking defense. He gets hit with 4.5 punches per minute, and he has really bad takedown defense. It wouldn't surprise me if taking this fight on short notice, Michael Johnson goes back to his wrestling and grinds out a decision. And I do like the fight goes to decision line at minus 145. And even Michael Johnson winning by decision is minus 104. I think any one of those is in play. I pretty much see no reason that either one of those won't hit.
I actually like that line better.
Minus 104.
Yeah, I like that minus 104 better than because I don't see Lobov winning a decision here.
No, I don't see Lobov doing much in this fight at all.
Yeah. All right, and then the main event, I already have a play on it. I'll tweet out my plays on betmma.tips. But I already took Volkan. I think I got him at minus 190. It's down to minus 170 now. But I think Volkan knocks Anthony Smith out within 2 rounds. I think on our other podcast, I think I asked you, is it Volkan in the first round or Volkan in the second round? Very similar to Nasrat. And that's kind of how I'm feeling. I think he's going to get Anthony Smith out of there. I think I got a 3 or 4 unit play on Volkan. So Ty, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I'm not sold on the idea that Anthony Smith is a good fighter. I mean, he's good, but I think that right now the hype outweighs his actual skill. He's fought 2 fights at light heavyweight. One was to Rashad Evans, and the other one was to Shogun. All of his big wins that have caused him to gain this hype have come versus fighters that are well past their prime and pretty much are on the verge of retirement with 1 foot out the door. Volkan is not that fighter. He's a big guy. He hits hard. Anthony Smith, I think you said, walks around at 215, and they had to put him on a diet.
He's on a 250. He said it on the James Lynch podcast. Walks around at 215. They actually had to bulk him up to keep him at 215 so he could drop down to 205 for weigh-ins. Yeah.
Yeah, and Oezdemir is a really big guy. So if you look back to the fight where he fought Mojeta, Thiago Santos, he had a lot of problems with the striking versus a big, powerful guy. And now he's fighting Oezdemir, who is essentially a similar type fighter, but is even bigger. And so I think that Volkan is going to hurt him early, and he's going to put him out.
Yeah, and again, even some of these lines under 1, it's actually favored to go under 1.5 rounds at minus 140. So again, I think he hits hard. I actually wrote that in my article. I started my article for the Quan Edge. It'll be out tomorrow after weigh-ins. And again, if anybody wants to sign up for the Quan Edge, we tweet out the information all the time from our personal Twitter pages and the Quan Edge page. But you can sign up. You can do a 1-week trial for $5, and then you can do a month using UFC or BREWS as your code. And you'll get the UFC stuff, and you can even do a full package and get the football stuff. Their football stuff supposedly is killing it. I used it a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't been able to do it. And then last week they killed it with bets. I think they were like 12-2 last week with their betting package. So I mean, if you want to sign up for a good betting package all around, you'll get all our UFC stuff. My article, Ty's coming out with an article. Ty, you want to tease your article a little bit? What you're going to be writing about this week in terms of not the plays, but the content.
Yeah, so I focus on a top play and a breakdown of who I feel is a good underdog for DraftKings. on our podcast, on our premium podcast, we also we break down every fight from a DraftKings perspective and give our take if they're a good play to use or not, and even how to use them. In my article, I know on this podcast we talk a lot about who we like as bets, but in reality, we're talking a lot on Thursday. There's still the open workouts, there's the weigh-ins, everything. So these bets are not finalized. We actually put in our article our finalized bets for the event. And so you could actually find them there and find out the ones that we're actually really playing and risking our money on, whether it be our money or in the Gamble Masters tournament that we're in. That's pretty much it. And they've also been killing it with basketball too. I've been following their basketball. We got a few guys over there that really know their stuff.
Yeah, they hired like 4 guys to do basketball, right?
Yeah, I did. They did.
Yeah. No, so by all means, get all the content. Sign up for the Quant Edge. You'll get our premium UFC stuff. Ty's been doing well with bets. Last week, I mean, we more or less killed the whole card last week. Other than the fact that in our GPP, we tried to fade Tony Martin, hoping that Ryan LaFleur would get that win, and then all those Martin lineups, because of the odds value, would go away. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but I think we still fared pretty well. I think I more or less doubled up on my personal plays, and we went like max bet in the $10, right? And we made a bit of we didn't get our money back, but we had a little bit of a return there. So
we gotta pretty much it all came down to if the Nogueira versus Alvi fight. If Alvi would have scored the knockout instead of Nogueira, we probably would have took first place.
Yeah. So over the last 2 weeks, we've had some good luck in that one, and even good luck last week with or some bad luck, I would say. It came down to like one fight, the Nogueira fight 2 weeks ago, and then you got or actually that was longer than that. That was like probably like 5 weeks ago, and then the Tony Martin Ryan LaFleur fight at UFC 229. Yeah. So with all that being said, we're doing a lot of tape study. We're trying to put in all the work for you guys. So if you like the content, by all means, let us know. Ty, I'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna end this now, and then we'll tweet it out to everybody.
Well, I just want to leave everybody with one thing. If you're gonna max play a play that's minus 170, go with Oezdemir instead of Sukum, Ty.
Oh boy, you see, this is why friends, when with friends like you, who needs enemies, Ty? All right, buddy. Good luck in your bet. We'll be head to head on our bets this week, I guess.
All right, man.